Welcome, ladies. You are in for a treat. I know I say that every time, but let me tell you, we have Veronica Krestow here. She is a vibrant, beautiful goddess of transformation. And I am so excited that I found her and that she said yes to being a part of this beautiful Simply Woman 7-day online retreat. Let me introduce you to Veronica. She's the author and the creator of the Diamond Process, using everyday triggers, and don't we all have them, to awaken the treasures within. It's a 7-step transformational system serving thousands of clients and students worldwide after 25 years, which I always say when women say that, I'm like, how 25 years? You're only 25. 25 years of learning from masters in the fields of spiritual psychology, presence, mastery, yogic philosophy and psychology, plus another 17 years, or maybe they're all like congruent. I don't know. I've experienced in the field as a successful transformational life coach. Veronica has discovered the vast difference between mediocre coaching, amen, sister, and masterful coaching. Together with her husband, one of her great joys is training and certifying Diamond Process life coaches all over the world. In addition to facilitating transformational retreats and online courses, she passionately focuses her time helping coaches, some of you, and healers create their soul signature course. So you got to check that out. It's a unique body of work that each one of us are born to bring into the world. And Veronica is passionate about helping you design your own magic. She's the creator of her popular series and transformational YouTube channel, 23,000 plus engaged and growing strong subscribers. And she's had over 2 million views. Thank you, my goddess, for being here.
I am so honored to be here. My God, hearing you say my bio and the way you say it, I'm like, oh,
she's all that.
You are magic. So thank you. Thank you for having me, and so good to meet you.
Yeah, so great that we finally connected. We were talking before we went into record mode just about how it's such an important time right now for women, and we're all being called to like show up bigger and brighter and bolder and more fearless. And I was hoping maybe you could take us a little bit into, I know you're working on your memoir right now, but
Ooh, how'd you know that? Yes.
tell us a little bit about you.
Hmm. Well, really what drew me onto this path of training coaches, didn't start as training coaches, but coaching others, was I went on a really deep and very painful journey. But really that pain was a path to finding what I was here to do. I was really hooked on perfectionism, people pleasing, the pressure to check all the things off the boxes, like the typical classic story. You know, I was in my late 20s and I had the perfect relationship. We were traveling the world first class. I had the yoga body. I had just gotten certified, gotten my master's in spiritual psychology and certified as a yoga teacher. And my career was just starting to pop, like my real career, my real work. And I had a community of beautiful, beautiful spiritual friends. And I was miserable inside. Like my life looked so good on the outside, and it was, but inside I was in a lot of suffering, and I didn't know how to navigate the intense criticism that was in my head, the rage, the anger, the sadness, the grief, because it didn't match the mask. Not that I knew I was masking at the time, but it was like,
you were doing the best you could. You were living the best you could based on what you knew and what we've all been taught, how we should show up, especially as a beautiful woman. You have it all and you're beautiful, so you should be happy.
Or you should be happy. Exactly. And also things like my dad was a marathon runner, like amazing man, and he wouldn't even run a race unless he knew he was going to win.
Okay,
So it's like, you don't enter the race unless you're going to win. You don't show up in life unless you're the best. You don't do anything unless you are positive and in a good mood. Like you don't show anything other than that. Bless his heart. He's an amazing father. But, these messages get in there. And so long story short, I went to the Redwood Forest alone. I left my life in Los Angeles. I completely shut down my whole life. I went off of the grid, off of technology. There wasn't much at the time. There wasn't like social media or anything. But I went and faced off with with my emotions, with my feelings, everything I had learned in my spiritual master's of spiritual psychology program, I just started applying to myself. And long story short, I basically was talking to myself in the redwood forest. And the one thing that was I was so afraid of was going mad and going crazy, but talking through my feelings was the only way I could actually create a little bit of relief inside of me, and a little bit of, I'd feel every time I was authentic with my feelings alone in those woods, I felt better. I felt a little bit better, a little bit more connected. But
Isn't it interesting? I just want to jet in. Isn't it
yeah,
interesting because of that perfectionism, because of that fear of even like putting your thoughts down or even talking to yourself in the presence or in the energy of other people? Like you
yeah,
literally had to be alone, the safety
yes,
of like, I am all alone in the forest with the trees, literally,
yeah.
to hear yourself speak.
That's exactly it, because I was always in other people's heads looking at myself through their lens. So I was never in my body. I was always outside in somebody else's head, assuming I knew what they were thinking about me and seeing myself through that lens. So I was constantly checked out, and it was so painful. It's not to be too like transparent here, but my mother suffered mental illness and went homeless and had a really difficult path.
Yeah, yeah.
So then there was my
So there's
perfect
that fear. The's also that fear, like somewhere
opportunity
in
of
there, like, I don't want to
becoming
be my
her.
mother. I can't be my mother. I'm
I
not my
can't,
mother. Am I my mother?
yes.
I'm not my mother.
You know
Yeah.
the irony, how many clients I hear say those exact words, like, I'm so terrified of becoming my mother. And I'm like, amen. Like, I know exactly how that feels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what I came to was a body of work birthed out of me in those woods called the diamond process that helped really save me, and nature really I could give full credit to was what saved me from that turmoil. And then I came back into life, back to Los Angeles, and started sharing that work with clients. And then people started asking, could you train me like how you coach? And it turned into a coach training program.
Incredible. So similar. We have such a similar path. And
I know.
even
Yeah.
the mother thing, like I don't talk about it a lot, but yeah, like I haven't
Mm.
had contact with my own mother for 15 years and she lives an hour away. You know, she doesn't have any interest in any of her children, any of her 7 grandchildren. And
Mm.
it it's it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And my heart was broken for most of my life.
Mm.
And I'm just so what's the word to say? I've made sense of a lot of it and put the pieces back together, and I'm back, and we're here, and that's what we're doing, Veronica, is we're showing that we can overcome, and that, you know, God bless our mothers, because they had husbands like your dad who was the perfect runner, and they had, you know, and I don't know your whole story, but
And they weren't mothered,
yeah,
right? They were mothered by mothers who couldn't mother very well.
yeah, and they all had, but we were all, and they were more so raised in patriarchy, which for many women who were feminine and who were, they couldn't fit in this world, and we couldn't, but thank God we're on the frontier now, that we're changing things for all
Yeah.
of us and for our relationship with ourselves, and if we have children.
Yeah.
I know I am gonna laugh because we had to edit, if any of you noticed an edit, like right in the middle of our live call, which I say to my kids, my daughters, who's 26,
Yeah.
I'm doing an interview right now. That kid still just, my mom has a life. Oh no, she does? What do you mean my mom has a life? So we're still trying to teach this. We're still healing
Yeah.
the legacy.
Mm.
So back to you get back to Los Angeles, and now you're starting to like start your own business. Let's talk about the diamond process.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to clarify that when I moved back to LA, it was rough. Like, it wasn't like,
I
ooh,
came back with the diamond process and diamonds on my fingers.
yeah, exactly. Like diamonds everywhere. No, I actually was bankrupt at ground zero, had absolutely nothing. I just left a relationship that was incredible. And he was like a dream facilitator. Anything I wanted, he was like, you know, I'll give you half my kingdom. Like, it was fairy tale love. But something in me when I went in those woods, just everything broke. Like, I had to start fresh. And
Yeah.
He's still a dear friend today. But the thing that happened was then it was a journey of, okay, this huge awakening in those woods, but now how do I walk with that? Like,
Can I ask
oh,
you, like when you say you're in the woods, were you in a tent? Were you in a cabin? Were you in a hotel? Were
I
you,
love that question. I should be more specific.
yeah,
I
like
was
I'm just like, were you like laying on the ground in the redwoods?
no,
Like, what do you mean you're in the
well,
redwoods?
I was on acres of redwoods. However, I was in a great house because at the time I was my to get really transparent, my partner at the time was actually supporting me because I was romanticizing suicide. I was not in a good place. And
Oh,
we were split, but he was like, you need to heal and whatever you need to do, let's
go to
get you.
my beautiful house in the redwoods.
Well, I found a house and he
Oh,
was like, just find a place that's safe and beautiful that you feel good in.
oh,
And
that's, what a gift he was. He was, and there's
huge.
great
Yeah,
men. There are great men in the
there are
world.
great.
And I'm so glad that you attracted him and that he gave you that opportunity and you took it.
Yes.
Now you're using it.
Yes, that's what he kept saying. He said, I know that he said he would use the word noble. What you're doing, facing your inner demons, is noble. It's
It
noble. So
is.
few people do it. But I want to say to anyone listening, going, oh, well, good for her. Like she had this handed to her, like, but I can't heal because I don't have that house in the redwoods. I really believe, oof, that when we commit to healing, when we commit to going as deep as we possibly can and freeing ourselves from the grip of the patriarchy or whatever other traumas that we have been through, grace, providence sets in and things show up. It may not be an ex-boyfriend, giving you a house for a year and a half, but it might be
We don't know. We just have
we
to be
don't know
open.
exactly. And
Yeah.
we have to
And
be
not
open
just,
to receive. Exactly. Because
yes.
at that time, Krestow, I was like, I'm not worth this. Like, I'm worth nothing. Like, so
Mm,
there was
yeah.
this, like, I'm not going to receive that. But then it was like, I actually, for survival, finally broke open and received it.
And that's very feminine energy is a letting ourselves receive. So many of
Mhm.
us live in that really masculine mother energy where we just think we have to keep giving and keep doing and keep helping and keep saving and keep fixing. And
Yes.
really a big part of what's happening here for women is we're moving away from that and realizing, but we don't work that way. It doesn't
Mm-mm.
work like that for us. We're not men. We're not designed that way. And so you allowed yourself to receive and look at the ripple effect
Mm.
that you now have to the thousands of women that you're being able to effortlessly shine your light to make such an impact.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you for that reflection. Yeah. It's such an important thing to remember, right? And I'm so grateful to be in conversation with you on this because you're, like I said at the start, you're the real deal. And it's really powerful. It's really powerful what you're opening up here because we as women are we are on the precipice of something profound, like a grand awakening. And I feel like these last 2 years supported us in that, the friction, the pain, the
Yep.
suffering. It's like almost like pulling a bow and arrow back. And now it's like, let's go.
Such a perfect analogy. And we've all been through it in different ways and finding our way and figuring, we lost our footing. I
Yes.
think a lot of us felt like we just lost our footing and we're
Yeah.
regaining it and we're stronger, almost like the redwoods. We're coming together. And when we realize those roots of those redwoods are all intertwined, and that's what makes them so strong, is that they're together. There's a community, and that's what's happening for us. Our
That's
roots
it.
are all starting to intertwine.
Yes, when I came out of the redwoods, I started something. It's not no longer existent, but it was called the community. The
Ah,
community. So you're like totally tapping into that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and their roots don't even go that deep, but they link up with others. So they're a really strong forest because they serve each other.
Yeah, they serve each other. That's what we're doing. We're serving each other. So
Yeah.
how did you really start that soul-centered business? Like what were the early stages of business and what did you do to turn to really start to inspire people so that they found you and like this thing grew?
Yeah, so the beginning was I didn't even mean it to be a business, but I started making YouTube videos, being very transparent. I was like, all this that I'm healing in my life, I have to share this. And I
Love
was out
that.
there sharing it. And YouTube has been incredible. I mean, 90, maybe a little less now because of referrals, but 90% of my clients and students, they come from YouTube. And it
Wow.
just, yeah, I mean, that's my
Awesome.
point. Yeah. And it was such, I mean, it gave me a path, YouTube, making videos. It helped me find my voice. And then I'd watch my videos over and over again and notice over time there was a thread line. I kept saying the exact same thing. And so then that turned into a book called The Diamond Process. And then that turned
Got it.
into the coach training. Yeah.
So what is the diamond process?
So the diamond process is what I was doing in those redwoods every day. It's a 7-step process of really anytime we are triggered. What I would do is like roll out a yoga mat, put 2 pillows on on the yoga mat, and then swap seats and just basically similar to Gestalt, like communicate with my feelings.
I love that.
Yeah. And I've done that in yoga studios where, I mean, workshops where it's a whole process. It's very experiential, although it doesn't have to be out loud. It could be written in a journal.
I do the writing back and forth between
Yes.
these different parts of, and I teach this to my students in one of my books, The Emotional Edge. I have 22 different archetypes, and I
Wow.
teach them how do we integrate all of these different aspects of who we are back into the wholeness of who we are. And we do that by having conversations between them. They get to know each other until they all realize we're all part of the same person. But I
Yes.
love that you do it with like, we're going to sit here and I'm going to talk to, and then I'm going to sit here and that's incredible.
Yeah, I love what you just said because it's exactly right. We are the 22 archetypes. 22 is my favorite number. There's weird synchronicities with us. I love what you're sharing here. But it really is. It's like if you picture a diamond and all the different facets, what
Yeah.
I was doing for most of my life was just showing one facet. Like, I'm perfect. Everything's good. I'm happy. Do you need anything? Like,
Perfectionist, one of the archetypes. Yep.
Exactly. And I remember my therapist in Mendocino actually helped me with this. He was the first one to open me up to this and say, he gave me a diamond and he said, bring this home. I want you to sit with it. And I want you to think about all the other facets that you have not shown anybody. And it was like, I'm allowed to do that? Like pull them
Yeah.
all out of the shadow. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about your courage muscle and it's growing. And what gave you the inspiration, motivation, courage to begin to write your own story?
Oof. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with an incurable illness out of absolutely nowhere. I was in perfect health and I always get my blood work done, but this time went really deep with the blood work. And they found something in there. And it was like, it was just during COVID and it just flipped my whole life upside down. And I was grinding in my career. Like I was working really hard. And granted, I was exhausted, true, but I'm so passionate about what I do. I didn't really realize what I was doing to my body and how I
Yeah,
wasn't.
me
So
too.
yes, it was like, oh, getting up to pee or eat or like just completely forgetting basic needs.
Yes, drinking water.
Thank you. um,
Yeah.
so that really the whole business, I slowed it down and only delivered to what our membership and to my students and clients and slowed down and just started going to healers. And then I started writing about it and I healed naturally. But I think a really big part of it was getting to this part inside of me that was still there. That was almost like a self-hatred
Mm.
that was still operating in a very camouflaged way.
Yeah.
And so it's all being poured into the memoir. And I almost burned it the other day, to be honest, Crystal. I was like, and my memoir coach,
Listen,
Laura.
can I tell you, I
Yeah.
wrote my memoir in 2015,
Ooh,
and
you read
I was
it.
so certain I was going to publish it. And this book had just come out and it had been featured on Oprah 3 times. And I was like, oh, the memoir's coming now. And then I sent it to a few of my really closest colleagues. I'm going to say
Yeah.
colleagues. And they were like, Their response scared the shit out of me. They
Are
were
you
like,
kidding me? Okay.
you sure you want to share all this? Like, this is, there were scenes that made me throw up. There was Krestow
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
trauma. And their reaction scared me, and it made me think, wow, they don't want to see you sweat. Like, they like this idea of who you are, not them, not those specific colleagues. They were
Yeah.
so loving. They were like, is the world ready for this? I
Yeah.
realize now I wasn't ready to release
Mm.
it. 2016 hit, the world changed. As we all know, it's never really, then it just moved into the pandemic. And
Yeah.
then it's just been a really hard go for women. The Me Too movement, the
Yeah.
gymnastics, USA Gymnastics, Bill Cosby, Epstein,
Mm.
Harvey Weinstein. It was just like a series of things that I just realized I was raw. It needed to come out. And it has been the most cathartic part of my healing, is telling my story and sharing it with a select group of women who witnessed me and who validated me. And it was profound for my healing journey. And I will publish it one day, but I realize now I will do it in a different way, where it's not the wounded healer, it's
Yeah.
the healed story. And
Wow.
but it had to come out the way it had to come out. So
Yes.
however yours is coming out, it
Yeah.
has to come out. It
I
has to come out.
thank you for this. I have chills because the way you did it is opening it up to a select group and reading it, letting them read it, is that's incredible. Yeah, and a healer I was sitting with the other day, he said, write it raw, and that's how I'm doing it. And then you can always go in and change names
So
to
that's why you can't burn it. Don't
right.
burn it.
No, my writing coach was like, you are not burning this. Promise me, I'll walk you through it, but do not burn it and keep writing.
Yes.
I
And
was
it has
like,
to get out, because you know what, it even might be, and I'm not saying it might be that you publish it as a memoir one day, just exactly
yeah.
as it is. It might be what's happening for me. I'm writing another, like, it's the 20th anniversary of my original book, Simply Woman, that I did with Hay
Mm.
House. This is the original
Wow.
copy. This was my very first self-published version of Simply Woman, a full color. And that was
This is incredible.
right. So now I'm doing the 20th anniversary edition for
Yeah.
women over 40. And I'm pulling so many stories out of the memoir now that I
Mm.
realized, oh, it was all needed. It's still part of my story, but, and
Yeah.
who knows where yours will go, but it needs to come out. Do not burn it.
Yeah, the key is to keep writing it, and the agenda to like make it this thing that's marketable, like pushing
Don't worry
that
about
part.
that.
No, that's
Yeah.
the part that is not helpful at all.
And keep telling listen to me, being a writing coach, like, it has to be your truth. And if any
Yes.
part of it you ask yourself, is there anything in here that I could be confused about? Or, like, that's what I had to keep saying. Like,
Yeah.
this is my truth. Is this their story? Is this my story? Should I be telling this part of the story? Is that theirs to tell? Is this mine to tell?
Mm.
And like, I love what your writing coach told you, is like, don't edit it. Don't edit it. Just keep
No,
letting
God,
it
no.
pour out. Do you know I wrote mine in 7 days? 70,000 words in 7 days. It was like I had a mental breakdown, and the words just poured out, and I couldn't sleep, and I just kept crying, and I just wrote for 7 days, and then it was done. And I was like, I've lost 10 pounds.
Wow.
And I threw up and cried, and what a major healing. So kudos to you,
Oh,
because
it's like you birthed yourself in that writing process.
yeah, that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for the incurable illness. It could actually bring me to tears because it actually was the most beautiful gift I have received. It was my body's only way of saying to me, I have no words, I have no language. Please stop
Pay
doing this,
attention.
this.
Yeah, pay attention.
Please, yeah, stop ghosting me. Like, yeah. So it was just this, it's been a really profound love affair with my own body. And
Oh,
yeah, just
wow.
yeah, learning to walk again and entrepreneur again in a new way, in a very different way.
It's beautiful. We're being called. What would
Yeah.
you say to women who are beginning their journey, walking their journey, whether it's
Mm.
empaths, coaches, healers? Um,
Yeah.
how do they break through? How do they break through to have the confidence that that you have broken through so much self-doubt. And
Yeah.
what would you say to them so they can start to grow their business?
I mean, I would say right now in the early stages, it's as if you have this flame. Like think of a flame. It's when it's just a flame, it is the slightest wind can blow it out. It's really important to have a boundary. In other words, who you are surrounding yourself with is so important until the flame grows and grows into a roaring fire, where this like slightest bit of self-doubt or criticism or can blow out the flame in the early stages. But it's really important to trust your need to put up boundaries, to say no, to go into a selfish, yes, a selfish level of self-care, and fortify your body, your emotions, your mind, your spirit, and call in those, Krestow, this beautiful community. You know, what you're tuning into here is a great example. You're already doing it. Surround yourself and fortify your life with people who get you and who support you and who see, you know, like where you're able to be your authentic self and realize how amazing it is. I used to try to be like big and loud because I thought that was successful and people would misunderstand me as like meek or lacking confidence or something like that. It's like, no, I'm just an empath and highly sensitive and soft-spoken, but that's my own form of power. So whatever your form of power is, let it grow into a roaring flame, into a roaring fire, because there are people just like you who need to hear it the way you say it, and only you can say it.
It's so beautiful. And I love that you said that and really protect that flame, because that's a
Yes.
perfect example. If I had just thrown that book out and given it to, I was discerning who I shared it with. And I really only shared it with people who I knew loved me and
Mm,
who respected me.
yeah.
And because their feedback, if I had given it to other people, they would have said, publish it. Yes. Because it was nitty and it was gritty and it was, oh, it could have, and it could have been, but would it have really served me and my soul and my future, my
Mm,
children, the bigger picture, the legacy?
yeah.
So I love that you're saying, be very discerning in the beginning who you share your magic with, because
Mm,
you don't want someone to poo-poo on your parade.
yeah.
And yeah, when we first start, our confidence isn't big because
Right.
we're testing the waters. So I
Yeah.
love,
There's no evidence yet. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I love
that
that.
evidence helps to whoa. I'm like, there was an earthquake in LA 2 nights ago. So now like
Every
this,
time you're like, whoa,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so anyway, confidence only grows with the evidence of once you do the thing. So many people wait to do the thing. I'm going to get everything perfect and right, and then go out there and share my message. It's like, how do you even know what your message is until you actually start speaking and start sharing and start small and
yeah,
and
and get
discover.
feedback. And then be very,
Yes,
again, discerning with the feedback. Like,
yes,
is this my ideal audience? Like, am I hearing, like I'm getting feedback, but who am I getting it from? And then being able to put that all together. So I love so much what you're doing, your soul-centered
mhm.
business. I can't wait to read. If you want to share that manuscript with me,
Ooh,
I'm always here and around.
oh, thank
Um,
you.
Listen, I know, and we could keep on talking. I want to give you the last minute or two just to share your most heartfelt message with our ladies
Mhm.
today.
If you're here, which you are, and you're tuned in to Simply Woman, to this incredible retreat, there's very clearly something inside of you that may not be what life is nurturing or what your mind is even conscious of it right now. But I would just say, tune in to like, where do you feel that you can connect to your soul? Where in nature, what is the place that allows you to have a direct listening line to your soul and make the space? Okay, our society is going to continue to make it more and more difficult to have an ounce of quiet or space to actually hear yourself. The programming is thick, it's big, and so it actually requires unplugging, whether that's for an hour or I just did a week up in the redwoods. Unplug and listen, go out in nature. That's like the fast track to recalibrating your physical body and your emotional body and soul to your truth, so that then you can also have the space to hear and be guided from within, because you have a very unique path laid out in front of you, and your purpose definitely leaves clues. So I just send you so much light, and just remember there's no rush. Flowers bloom in their perfect way, as do we, as do you. And just enjoy the journey, enjoy each step of the way. And what is that next step for you that feels energizing, that feels exciting? It might even feel scary, because scared is just excitement without the breath, right?
Oh, I love that. Scared is just the excitement without the breath.
I
And
think Gay
yeah,
Hendricks said
I,
that. Yeah, it's
I,
so true. Yeah.
yeah, I just realized I don't think we've even talked about your free gift. So we're not going there
Oh,
quite yet, because
yeah.
you have an amazing gift, a 3-part video series,
Yeah.
to really help women get in command of their energy, their vibrancy, their frequency. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's if you are really challenged around people or wherever you go, maybe you doubt yourself, or you have some kind of energetic block that's lowering your frequency, your vibration, your energy. This 3-part video series, it's a whole workshop basically to help you see what's holding you back specifically, and then be able to command your frequency no matter where you are and no matter who you are with. So you can tune into that. And it'll help you be an inspiration for others, because when your frequency is lifted, I always say your frequency is your number one job.
Yeah.
I'm a coach trainer, but that's not my number one job. That's my second job. My first job is my frequency.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Beautiful. Then you're an inspiration to others, and you can confidently know that you're showing up as your best self. So thank you so much, Veronica. You're a goddess. You're beautiful. Your energy is just magnetic from the inside out. So thank you so much for taking your time to share
Thank you
with
so
us
much.
today.
Thank you, Crystal. And so much love, everyone. Mwah.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for being a part of this beautiful, gentle, inspiring, passionate, purpose-driven interview today. Thank you for being part of our Simply Woman online retreat. Of course, it's 7 days of incredible interviews just like this one. Recipes, me in the kitchen, chopping up the veggies, making some soup, daily meditations, a lot of body, mind, spirit magic. And we can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.